Now, I think, here's Bill O'Reilly last night on Fox. I think knowing Bill is going to correct this tonight. I really hope he does. I think he will. But here he is operating in the same rash judgment the White House operated in. I should say the Department of Agriculture, backed up by the White House, the NAACP. Everybody is listening for footsteps on the liberal side of things, on the progressive side of things, so afraid to be tagged for counter-racism or reverse racism. Here's Bill O'Reilly last night, and again, I think he's going to correct this tonight. I'm betting on it. Here he is last night.
Well, that is simply unacceptable, and Ms. Sherrod must resign immediately. The federal government cannot have skin color deciding any assistance. We are requesting an explanation from the Agriculture Secretary, Tom Vilsack, and we'll keep you posted. By the way, the full transcript of Ms. Sherrod's remarks is posted on biggovernment.com.
You know, I think tonight that O'Reilly's going to correct this story. I'm not counting on the other people on Fox, but I think he will correct this story. Michelle, you betting for or against O'Reilly to straighten this story tonight?
You know what, I'm betting for O'Reilly to change it, and also for, for Breitbart and his website. I think that once this video is available in full, if he gets it, I am betting that he's going to put the entire videotape on his website and allow people to watch the website for themselves and judge whether or not people actually think that this woman is a rogue racist and should have lost her job.
Department of Agriculture official Shirley Sherrod admitted that years ago she held back some government assistance from a white farmer because of the color of his skin.
I'm struggling with the fact that so many black people have lost their farmland, and here I was faced with having to have a white person save their land. So I didn't give him the full force of what I could do.
Well, after hearing that, I said this. Well, that is simply unacceptable, and Ms. Sherrod must resign immediately. The federal government cannot have skin color deciding any assistance. And that's exactly what happened. Department of Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack fired Ms. Sherrod. But if you were watching the network news last night, you would know nothing about the story. Once again, an embarrassing moment for the Obama administration was not covered. So let's run it down. Black Panthers Justice Department controversy, not covered by the 3 network news broadcasts. Acorn undercover video showing employees helping criminals, not covered. Obama Green Czar Van Jones forced to quit because of statements like 9/11 might have been an inside job. No coverage. Assistant Secretary of State Michael Posner comparing the Arizona illegal alien law to Chinese human rights abuses. Not covered. Dr. Donald Berwick, the new head of Medicare and Medicaid, saying that health care should be used to redistribute wealth. No coverage by the network news. Stunning. Journalism in America is in dire trouble. As for Ms. Sherrod, she's not going quietly.
They asked me to resign, and in fact, they harassed me as I was driving back to the state office from West Point, Georgia yesterday. I had at least 3 calls telling me the White House wanted me to resign.
Are you willing to name names?
Oh, I can tell you, that was Cheryl Cook, the deputy undersecretary. She said, well, Shirley, they want you to pull over to the side of the road and do it, because you're going to be on Glenn Beck tonight.
Pull over and do it means quit. So Ms. Sherrod did. This afternoon, she was supposed to talk with Megyn Kelly, but canceled. She also refused to talk with me tonight. In the big picture scheme, this is a small story. Every administration in history has had employees do dumb things. Ms. Sherrod made a mistake and is paying for it. But what about the American media? Why the news blackout when things become unpleasant for the Obama administration? The answer has to be bias. The establishment press tilts left and is reluctant to do damage to a very liberal president. I think that's absolutely true. There's no other reason to spike stories that bring millions of viewers to the Fox News channel. You think the other TV news operations, all of whom are not doing well, would want to attract that large audience. Apparently they don't. And that's a medal. Now for the top story tonight, reaction. With us, Fox News analysts Monica Crowley and Alan Combs. So Combs, of all the stories I listed that the network news has ignored, is there one that you, as a news editor, would have put on the air?
Probably just the Acorn story.
You would have.
However, the other ones I absolutely reject. The Acorn story, I'm with you on that. However, in terms of Sherrod, she said something 24 years ago. The videotape that went viral was a 2.5-minute segment of a much larger tape. The farmer's wife to whom she referred said she should not have been fired, and in fact, she did help that family and kept them out of foreclosure. We have not heard the whole story, and
listen,
the Obama
I want to hear the whole story. I invited Shirley on tonight.
She should have come on.
In fact, if Shirley had come on, you wouldn't be here. That's how much I wanted.
You know what?
Shirley Sherrod on the program.
Because I like you so much, I want your ratings to do well. I wish you were here instead of me.
It's not a matter of Shirley Sherrod, okay?
Right.
It's not a matter of her. If she has a story to tell, we want to hear it.
Absolutely.
And we would give her plenty of time to tell it. It's a matter of, here is another embarrassment for the administration, an embarrassment they clearly acknowledge by telling poor Shirley, who's driving around Georgia, they'll pull over on the side of the road and resign.
You know what the embarrassment is for the administration? Not that she exists or not that she was part of the administration, but that they would fire her because they fear what some talk show host might say.
Do you think that's an embarrassment?
Yeah, the fact that they would fire this woman based on this,
well,
when we haven't seen the whole video, I think that's ridiculous.
What she said is disturbing.
We didn't hear the whole story, Bill.
Okay.
We didn't hear everything
she said.
said.
Combs.
Good.
What say you?
Look, what the mainstream media refuses to cover, because they have been, from the time Barack Obama announced his candidacy through today, they've been incredibly activist on his behalf, drooling in support of this guy. First black president, hip, cool, biracial, Jay-Z on his iPod. They're doing everything that they can to do the political blocking for him. So what they're not covering is, when you piece all of these stories together, Bill, they tell a bigger narrative. And the bigger narrative is, how many Van Joneses are in this administration? How many Shirley Sherrods? Is this administration stocked with radicals, racists, socialists? That's the overall narrative that they are not piecing together one by one.
But I don't think you're not making that accusation, are you?
I'm saying it could be, and frankly, when you look at the evidence, Bill, it looks pretty convincing that this administration is stocked like a goldfish
We're talking about a handful of people.
Radicals.
Look, Shirley Sherrod was about as low down the food chain as you can get in the agricultural department. She's a rural Georgia administrator. Obama had no idea who she was. Now, Van Jones a little bit more. Now, you say Van, this is this is the Kool-Aid component of you, Combs. Just so
thank you so much. I happen to like Kool-Aid.
I know you do. It shows. A guy like Van Jones, who's a friend of the president, all right? And he comes in, and he's a hardcore Marxist, and he says, yeah, he is. He admits it. Look, Jones admits he's a Marxist. And then he says 9/11 might have been an inside job, and he's running the green jobs.
You know what I mean? The fact that he should be run out, or any of these people should be run out of the
office.
You know, because of witch hunts that conservative talk show hosts do, this guilt by association, this is McCarthyism, where we demonize people around Obama because we don't like something they once said.
So you say that even though Van Jones is appointed to a position where he's in charge of environmental jobs.
Was he qualified for that job?
That you shouldn't cover.
Was he qualified for that job?
I have no idea.
Yes, he was.
You shouldn't cover his radicalism.
You know what I see here? I see witch hunts against people who conservatives don't
like.
I
cover the witch hunts.
They can tie to Obama to make Obama look like some kind of crazy radical.
So you ignore Van Jones entirely.
Van Jones was very well qualified to be the green jobs person.
But when he got into trouble, you ignore it.
It had nothing to do with his job. I think it's a witch hunt against people to try to tie Obama to
You don't cover the witch hunt. You just ignore it.
I'm covering the witch hunt by calling it a witch hunt, which is something that shouldn't be happening.
The network news ignored it.
Good. It's not because it's not a big story.
Look, let's advance it past ideology. I think journalism in America is on the ropes.
Oh, absolutely, because look, if Combs wants to talk himself into a circle about
I'm not talking myself into a circle.
Van Jones doesn't matter or Shirley Sherrod doesn't matter. Okay, let's stipulate that. Look at Eric Holder. The Attorney General of the United States not going after, in fact, just dismissing the Black Panther voter intimidation case, which is a story that we broke on Fox News, which none of the mainstream media covered until we forced them into doing it. When you've got the President of the United States and backed up by his Attorney General dismissing something like that, that is a big story.
Wait
a minute.
I want to respond
to that. I want to know why in May. Excuse me, I got to respond to
When
this.
you've got an activist, a fourth estate, journalists who are not practicing journalism but actually supporting and defending and protecting one party, when stories like this come out, Bill, you got crickets and tumbleweeds.
These are witch hunts. Let me respond to that. In May,